Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all in this lecture number 28 of Module 4, where we are going to discuss policies and system related to productions. So in the last lecture, we talked about what to produce, how to produce, and how much to produce. We studied in detail all the 3 points. So what to produce? We studied that whatever is required for nurturing, protection, and right utilization of the body is to be produced. And we studied that for this, there is need to understand about the need. And this need can be recognized on the basis of knowing of human being in the form of self and body, coexistence of self and body. Then we talked about how to produce. Under this topic, we studied about the 4 orders, and we saw that the 3 orders are already in cyclic process and mutually enriching process. So we have to produce keeping harmony of the rest of the nature in this process. Then we talked about how much to produce. So how much to produce according to our need. So according to our need, related nurturing, protection, right utilization of the body, for smooth functioning of the social system. All this we talked about in previous lecture. So in this lecture, basically we are going to talk about policies and system of production. So if you see, the first question is, what is required to produce physical facility? So production work requires, number 1, healthy mindset. So what does it mean? Healthy mindset means the capacity to identify need of physical facility. So it is very important point when we are talking about production, because if one is not clear about the real need of physical facility, one is not able to identify the need of physical facility, then one cannot decide how much production is required. So for production work, the first point is healthy mindset. And how can we identify this need of physical facility? We talked about this many times, that to identify correct need of physical facility, there is a requirement to understand human being as a coexistence of self and body. So once we have clarity about the self, about the body and their coexistence, then we are able to see that the need of self can be fulfilled through right understanding and need of the body through physical facilities. Then we talked about the feeling of self-regulation. With the feeling of self-regulation in the self, one can identify that physical facility is required for nurturing, protection, and right utilization of the body. So with this knowledge of human being, we can identify our need of physical facility. So for production, it is first important point that we should be able to identify our need of physical facility. Otherwise, in the absence of this clarification about need, the exploitation of nature will start. That's why the first point is healthy mindset. So with this clarification of the need of the self and body, then the skill and practices for sustainable production of more than required, leading to the feeling of prosperity. So again, it is an important point when we are going to make policies about production, when we are going to design system related to production. So this point should be ensured in each and every one, that one is living with the feeling of prosperity. With this, one has skill and practices for sustainable production system. So sustainable production means ensuring cyclic and mutually enriching process with clarity of need and feeling of prosperity, keeping relationship in the center. So this is sustainable production system. So skill and practices are required for sustainable production, not only production. So once we have the feeling of prosperity, once we know about sustainable production, then we can impart skill and practices in each and every one, so that one may produce according to need with the feeling of prosperity. So a mindset of production, not accumulation through labor. This is again an important point. A mindset of production is required through labor, not through exploitation. So once we are able to see relationship with others, we have a mindset of production with feeling of relationship, with feeling of prosperity. So once we have feeling of prosperity, we do not think of accumulating the physical facilities. Similarly, when we are able to see the relationship with others, we do not exploit the other peoples. With this clarity, a mindset of production is required. Then a mindset of right utilization, not indulgence. So when we are going to produce any physical facility, it is important point to be noticed that do we have clarity about right utilization of produced physical facility. If we are not rightly utilize, if we are not going to rightly utilize the production, then definitely we are indulging in that production, and it will start exploitation of the nature. So second point is mindset of right utilization. Then third is mindset of protection. So whatever physical facility we have, we are with a mindset to right utilize those physical facilities and a mindset of protection of those produced physical facilities, not with the mindset of use and throw, not with the mindset of indulgence, not with the mindset of accumulation, not with the mindset of exploitation. So all these points are required to be ensured at the level of individual, family, society before starting production. So we are studying about healthy mindset. So healthy mindset includes all these things. So healthy mindset includes feeling of relationship. It includes the clarity of need of physical facility. It includes the clarity of sustainable production with right skills and practices. It includes a mindset of production. It includes a mindset of right utilization and mindsets of protection. So if one ensures all these points, it means he or she has healthy mindset. With this healthy mindset, there is a need of healthy body. So once we have healthy mindset, then there will be need of healthy body. So with healthy mindset and healthy body, we can do production. So if we have healthy mindset but we do not have healthy body, then it becomes difficult to ensure labor with the rest of the nature. So healthy mindset, healthy body, then skill, right skills that ensure harmony while producing something, then efforts, and with rest of nature. So all these things are required for production work. So I hope you have understood all these points. So with this mindset, with healthy mindset, with healthy body, with right skills, right efforts, and interaction with rest of nature, we are able to ensure production work according to one's need, according to need of family, according to society needs. So with this clarity, production becomes sustainable. Then another point is we have to identify how many professions are required, how many occupations are required, so that a society, a village can sustain. So we have to make a list. We have to identify what kind of professions are required to run a society smoothly. So for example, in a society, sea master is required, a porter is required, accountant is required, oil pressure is required. All these professions are required, and etc. So you may find out how many professions are required to run a society smoothly. How many doctors are required, how many engineers are required, how many professions are required, so that a society can run smoothly. So you can take pause here for minutes and explore to run a society how many professions are required. So for example, you are wearing a shirt, you have a shirt on your body. You cannot produce that shirt, you cannot produce clothes, you cannot produce that shirt. So for this, some professionals are required. One, that may ensure production of cloth. Second, that may ensure the making of t-shirt from that production, etc. So in this manner, we have to identify how many professions are required. With this, we can think of production. Then level of production. So production at the level of family, production at the level of village, production at the level of group of villages. So production are required at all these levels. So let's study what production is required at all these levels. So basic guideline, if we talk about basic guideline of production, before talking production at different level, we can see in last lecture, we discussed three types of production: primary production, secondary production, and tertiary production. And we studied that the priority order of these three types of production. And we explored that primary is the most important, that is related to nurturing of the body, protection of the body. After that, secondary production, and then tertiary production. So we talked about their priority, this concept in the last lecture. So basic guidelines of what should be produced is: number one, primary production should be ensured at family and village level. So primary production can be ensured easily at the family and village level. So for example, we need grains, so like rice, wheat, whatever can be produced according to geography, can be produced at the level of village. And there are many things which can be produced at the level of family. Then secondary production should be ensured at the level of village and village clusters. So those things that cannot be produced at the level of village can be produced at the level of village cluster. And tertiary production should be ensured at the level of village clusters or at larger level according to the need. So if we follow this order, most of the needs of a village, of a family, can be fulfilled with the feeling of relationship. Those needs which cannot be fulfilled at the level of village are required to be produced at the level of village clusters. So for example, a school can be ensured at the level of village, where family member can cooperate, can help to get that school established. When there are some special professions which are required to be skilled, like doctor, medical colleges, so that medical colleges cannot be built at the level of each village. So one or two, according to need, medical colleges can be built at the level of village clusters. So in this manner, we have to identify what needs can be fulfilled at the level of family, what needs can be fulfilled at the level of village, and what is required to be produced at the level of village clusters. So again, you can take pause for 2 minutes and make a list what production can be done at the level of family, what production can be done at the level of village, and what production can be done at the level of village clusters. So it will vary according to geographical location, environment, soil condition, etc. So essence of the above guideline is that any primary production should be taken up as lower level as possible. And if you go through this, most of the production can be held at the level of family and village. In this manner, there will be less burden on village clusters. So these are few basic guidelines which has to be followed for sustainable production. And when production held at the level of family, at the level of village, it also solves the problem of unemployment. So these are few basic guidelines which we have discussed related to production process. So let's see what is to be done at the level of family, at the level of village, at the level of village clusters, etc. So at the level of family, we can produce physical facilities that are actually required to run a family in a smooth manner. Then at the level of village, then at the level of village cluster or society. In this manner, we can extend the things. So production, services or repair, maintenance, all this should be done for the facilities which are necessary. If somehow we are involved in unnecessary protection, it becomes wastage of resources, and very soon it becomes burden on the whole ecosystem. So main point is we should produce only the things which are required according to real needs, and these real needs can be identified with the knowledge of human being, with the knowledge of coexistence of self and body. So identification of our need is very much necessary before production. Otherwise, unknowingly, we will be harming the nature. So if one is not clear about the real need, the exploitation of nature cannot be stopped. So before talking about production, we should be aware about actual need of individual, actual need of the family members. Then we can make a list of all physical facilities required to run a village, identify the physical facilities which can be produced in the village, and which this identification we need to produce in excess so that they can be used in exchange for the material which cannot be produced in the village. So suppose there are 3 village, 4 village in a village cluster. So things X will be produced in village 1, things 2 will be produced in village 2, and exchange can happen between these villages in a village cluster. So in combination of all these, decide what are the facilities village has to produce and in what quantity. So you can do this exercise for yourself. You can identify what is the need, your individual need, family need at the level of village. Then you can make a list what needs can be fulfilled by the production processes at the level of village. And then there should be proper distribution of all the resources required for production. For example, land, forest, river, etc. Then who will produce what can be decided by common meeting. So first important point is to identify the need. Then who will produce is the next part, which can be decided with a common consent at the level of village. So a proper need and resources based planning is required rather than money based lifestyle. Production related to food, shelter and clothes, that is primary production, should be ensured at the level of village. So a design of village should be in a manner that most of the primary production can be ensured at the level of village. Then to fulfill those needs, to fulfill those production, tools and machines are required. This comes under the secondary production. Then the machines which we are not able to manufacture at the level of village, their repair and maintenance must be ensured in the village or at the level of village clusters. After this, exchange can be done only after ensuring the fulfillment of this need of the village. So you can see, before talking about skill, before talking about this production process, there is a need to recognize the real need at the level of individual, family, at the level of village clusters. Then only we can talk about this production. Now we can discuss what are benefits of production at the level of village. So number one, every family will have the assurance of necessary physical facilities. So when we produce at the level of village, so first benefit is every family will have the assurance that they will get enough physical facility. So it creates social security. Because of this local production, better quality of product is ensured. So when the production is done locally, everyone observe it, so its quality is ensured automatically. And next is, when a production is done at the level of village, minimum transport is required. So no transportation cost is included in the production if we do production locally. And it also ensures quality because it is being produced in front of every member of the village. Then it also ensures availability of all types of required work. So when production process starts, the availability of type of required work gets very clear. And it also ensures maximum utilization of resources. Another benefit is maximum possible use of mineral and resources in its naturally available form. So when we produce locally, so we use local resources and we also take care of those local resources. So when we do local production, all these benefits can be seen easily. And it becomes very easy to study the impacts of any process of production in rest of the nature. Because when we do local production at the level of village, actually we are taking care of the rest of the environment because we are getting resources from that environment. So in this manner, we become aware about the impacts of our actions on the rest of the nature. Another important point is when we do production locally, it becomes self-reliance and less dependency on exchanges, and an assurance of opportunity for production and availability of required resources to carry it out for everyone. So less dependency on current market system. So when things are produced locally, we can see all these benefits at the level of village. Then you can do this exercise at your home, design a product system for your own village level, identify the needs, identify your natural resources, identify the materials which are required, identify professions, how many professions are required for that production system. On the basis of you can do calculations, decide how many people need to engage in what particular production. Finally, distribute the responsibilities of production among villagers. So all this exercise you can do at your home. So in this manner, you will be knowing the importance of this production process. And of course, before designing this production process, are you aware about the need of the body? With this context, you can do this exercise. So if you see at the level of village cluster, a major part of necessary facilities will be produced at the level of village itself. So if we ensure production process at the level of family, at the level of village, so most of the requirements, most of the need can be fulfilled at the level of village itself. But few needs are required to be produced at the level of village clusters. So there will be some necessary primary productions which one village might not be able to produce due to environment, due to geographical area. So some production will not be required to be done in every village. So whatever is not produced in the village will be taken up by village clusters. So in this manner, village cluster comes into this role. So family, village clusters are used to produce the need. So finally, it can be decided that which village will take care of which product. All this exercise has to be done at the level of village. So you can take pause for 2 minutes. You can observe, you can investigate whether all these things are required or not. If we ensure all these things, it will ensure sustainable production or not. Then we can talk about society and policy level. So for sustainable production, every person should get the opportunity to produce. So if every person get the opportunity to produce, he or she starts labor. Then should get the necessary natural resources for that production. So one is the opportunity for the production, and second one is they should get enough natural resources for that production. And these necessary skills should be developed through education and sanskar. Next is to promote and create the mentality to produce the necessary facility and reduce the production of unnecessary one. And for this again, there is a need of clarity of the body. So with the clarity with the knowledge of this human being, it can be ensured. And with this, there is a need to cultivate the mentality of need-based production instead of profit-based production. If you see that today's scenario in the society, most of the production are profit-based. They are not need-based. So with the right understanding, with the knowledge of human being, our production becomes need-based. And with this, there is a requirement to respect the labor, to create the mentality of labor. So what a person will produce will be decided on the basis of need of the facility. And this need can be identified with the knowing of the coexistence of self and body. So if you follow all these at policy level, if we ensure all these at society level, then our production process becomes sustainable. Then we can talk about which production should happen at which level. So as we talked about primary, secondary and tertiary. So for a self-sufficiency in the context of this physical facility, we can identify productions according to primary, secondary and tertiary. So there is a need from small to medium industry. Small at the level of village, small at the level of family, then medium at the level of village clusters, etc. Then there will also be need of heavy industries, transport vehicle, telecommunication that can be produced at the level of village clusters. Then definitely for communications, for transportation, there will be required big transportation, big vehicles like train. So all this can be ensured through at the level of village clusters. So with this, in this manner, we can have a sustainable production system. So in this lecture, we talked about the policies of production processes. We talked about how sustainable development can be achieved through a collective efforts of family, society, village, at village clusters. Sustainable production can happen with the feeling of relationship, with the feeling of prosperity, with the clarity of real needs of human being, and with the understanding of the natural characteristic of rest of the nature. So if we ensure all this mentality in education sanskar, then our production system becomes natural. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. So let's meet in the next lecture. Have a good day. Thank you.